on this computer. So we are now recording. And Lisa, over to you. I have turned on sharing screen. So if you've got a PowerPoint or anything, do you have a PowerPoint or anything you're going to do?
I do.
Yes.
I shall stick it on in a minute once I've introduced myself, if that's okay.
Lovely.
I think when I share screen, you probably get the PowerPoint screen and not my face. And I think probably won't be able to see people or chat either. So I'll stop periodically if anyone's got any burning issues or comments or questions. But other than that, people will just need to shout, I think, if they want me to stop. Hopefully people won't be falling asleep, but if Linda can keep an eye on that just to make sure everyone's still awake, that'd be fab. Morning everyone. My name's Lisa Haynes. I know Kay because I've worked with Kay for a number of years, so it was lovely to see Kay this morning. I don't think I know other people, but I've only seen sort of flashes of images and robotic voices. So if I do know anyone and I've not recognised you, then apologies for that. So I work for Southampton City Council. My job title is Head of Supported Housing and Community Support, which sounds all a bit grand, but it kind of breaks down into three main areas of responsibility for me. I'm responsible for the Sheltered Housing Service across the city. We are the biggest landlord in the city and we manage something like 3,000 sheltered housing properties. I also manage a housing adaptations assessment team. So we have a small team of occupational therapists who carry out the assessments needed in order to install disabled adaptations in both council properties and private dwellings as well. That isn't just for adults, that covers adults, children, children's services, basically everything. And then the third service, which I think and I hope is the one that I'm here to talk about, because this is the one that I've got a PowerPoint presentation for, is the City Council's telecare service. Now, I'm hoping you can all do me a favour because I'm really interested to hear, before I start sharing with you details about the service and what we do, and what products are offered, it would be really helpful for me if I could ask each of you, just in a few words, if you can, stick in the chat and tell me right at the beginning of this, before I've introduced the item, what your understanding is of telecare. If someone was to say to you telecare, would you know what they were talking about? Would you have any idea what telecare is and how it might benefit you? And the reason I ask you all that is because we are looking at potentially rebranding our service, calling it something that is easily recognisable to members of the public. So as a professional, I use the word telecare all the time. It means something to me, but it might mean something really different to you. So I'm cheekily using this as an opportunity, really, just to get some feedback from members of the public, effectively, in terms of what the understanding is. So if you could do that, that would be great. I can't see it, or I won't be able to see it whilst I'm doing the presentation. If your answer is telecare, what on earth is that? I've got no idea. Then that's absolutely fine. It's not a test, and you're not going to be marked on it. It's just so that I can get a little bit of an understanding. So, without further ado, I'm going to now attempt to probably make a fool of myself to try and share my screen. And I'm just Give me a second while I try to do that. So what does that look like? Probably not brilliant yet.
If you go to slideshow, you should be able to start it from the beginning. Yeah, there you go. Click on there and then from beginning. Whee.
So have you all got a good view of that now, and can you read the writing? Lovely. You'll be pleased to hear that I am not going to bore you to tears with lots and lots of slides and lots of words. It's very much picture based. What I'll do is I'm more than happy to share this presentation after the event. Obviously you're recording this, but if you want it as a PowerPoint document, more than happy to do that. So that's me, as I say, and I'm here to talk about the City Council's telecare offer. So telecare is a service that is and has been provided in-house by Southampton City Council as a service for many years, 30 plus, certainly as long as I've worked for the City Council, which is more years than I care to remember. We have a telecare service or offer within our supported housing accommodation. So for those of you who are familiar with sheltered housing, you probably will be aware of pull cords in people's properties, where they pull the cord and someone speaks to them out of the wall, and emergency assistance is arranged if needed. And another sort of common piece of equipment is the pendant button that people tend to wear around their neck. So those are the most common devices. In Southampton, we have two types of service. I will go through this with you, but really, I don't think you need to be overly concerned about how the services are funded, etc. But we have a Careline service, which is our commercial offer, and anyone can make an application for Careline. I'll go through what the service is in a moment. There is a weekly charge, a weekly monitoring charge for the service. And I think probably you might ask me how much, and I haven't got those figures right in front of me, but when I finish the presentation, I'll pull the figures out and I'll stick them in the chat for you. So anyone who lives within Southampton city boundary, or indeed within a 20-mile radius of the city, can make an application for Careline, pay the weekly charge, and they have provided with a piece of equipment, button and box, and they can call for assistance should they need it. So that's one side, the commercial side. And then we've got what we call the funded side of the service, which currently is called connected care. So we've got all these different descriptions, hence me asking you for a little bit of feedback on what your understandings are. The connected care offer is basically identical to Careline in terms of the basic offering of button and box, but it's partially funded through health and social care, through the Better Care Fund, but the customer still pays a contribution towards the provision of the service. The big difference is the range of products that we currently have on offer, which I'm going to go through in a minute. Both services have an optional responding service, and again I'll explain what that is in just a second. So telecare isn't just for older people. When, many years ago, it was very much button and box, old person, living in sheltered housing, and that primarily was what the service was designed around. So traditionally it is seen as a service for older people, and it would be fair to say that a significant proportion of our customer base continue to be older people. However, there have been a lot of advances in technology, lots of smarter devices. Now, I'm not a technical person, so please don't ask me questions about the how do things work. But there are an awful lot of products, and you can see when you look at them how the newer sort of products can benefit a whole range of different individuals and cater for a whole range of different needs. And so in relation to the sort of uses that I think that this group will be interested in the most will be around supporting carers and supporting people to live independently in their own home. So the idea behind it is peace of mind for carers, greater independence for those who have care needs. A fancy little diagram here, just to give you an overview of what my description would be of what telecare is. So telecare is a range of telecare sensors and devices that are designed to achieve three main things really: personal well-being, home safety, and supporting people with falls and mobility issues. And you can see around the outside of that diagram, there are a whole range of different detectors. And I'm going to go through those in a moment. So look at this handsome group of people. There you go. So Kay, you'll recognise some of these faces, won't you?
Yes, I do. It's nice to see them.
Does it bring back memories of being at work in City Depot?
Oh, yes, I do.
For those of you who don't know, Kay was our trusted receptionist in our offices at City Depot for a number of years. So, and we were absolutely gutted when she chose to retire, because she was the face of City Depot, we'll call you, Kay. I hope that's okay.
Thank you.
So you can see me there on the left. Most of these officers here are call handlers. So the voice at the end of the telecare alarm, these are some of those people that talk to our customers when they raise the alarm. Carol there is the manager of the service, and Michaela in her posh uniform there is one of our responding officers. So she's one of the team of officers that will physically go out and respond to emergency situations in the community. And you may well recognise Councillor Filker, who up until today, I think, is cabinet member for adult social care. So the cabinet member that we report to, but that changes today following the elections. The responding service, I thought I'd show you just a quick picture of one of the vehicles that we're now using. It's not a very clear picture, and they could have given a better, more attractive backdrop, but there you go, it's the only one that I've got. Our responding service is physically responding and going out to support people in the community who have raised an alarm through their telecare system. So the significance of the responding service may well not be so important to you in your caring roles, because, you know, generally speaking, if you're a carer, you're probably or quite possibly living with the person that you're caring for. Maybe not, I don't know, maybe I'm making assumptions there. But the responding service is an excellent service, particularly for those who don't have loved ones around them. There are an awful lot of people that live in our city who live on their own. They have certain vulnerabilities and needs. They really do wish to remain living in their own home and live independently, which is a great thing to do for many reasons in terms of well-being, etc. But they need the reassurance that someone will be there if they need them. So we've recently purchased 2 new electric vehicles, so we're just getting to grips with this new technology. So you may see these vehicles driving around and parked up around the city. So these are our responding officers. Excuse me. So now I'm going to really whiz through quickly, otherwise we'll be here all day. A series of images of different pieces of equipment. Now I'm going to give you a very brief overview of what they do. I won't go into detail because we don't have time, and like I say, it will be far too much to take in. But just this first image is just a basic, what we'll call a button and a box device. So a telecare installation officer will come to your home. They'll provide you with this piece of equipment that is plugged into the mains. It's plugged into your landline telephone line if you have one, and that's how it communicates with the central control centre, and you're able to press the button and speak to someone in the call centre. A lot of people no longer have landlines, and if they do, they're possibly, you know, not really using them. They're going to become obsolete fairly soon. And so these devices, we've got different ways of connecting with the control centre that are coming on stream now, digital solutions. So we've got devices like this that have effectively got a SIM card in them. So you don't need to plug it into a telephone line. It uses mobile telephone technology. And also there are solutions that use your own broadband connection within your home if you have it. So there's lots of new inventive ways of connecting. The days of the old telephone line are limited, and they're going to be going very soon. So again, real basic stuff. A pendant, you either wear it around your neck, you wear it around your wrist, you can put it on your belt, you can stick it on the wall even. I think that one is. That's useful for putting a pendant in a bathroom, for example. They are waterproof, so you could stick one on the wall in the bathroom, maybe at floor level, so just in case you have a slip and you need some emergency help, it can be put wherever suits you. And the thing about telecare is it's very much, although it's a technical product, the important bit of it is how you use it and how you benefit from it, and how it's tailored to the needs of the individual and their loved ones. So the carer alert, I think, is probably a device that you would be very interested to hear about. I've talked about our 24/7 monitoring centre that is receiving emergency calls, but many people live with their loved ones, but so they don't need an alert to go through to a central control centre. All they need is a very simple alert to alert their loved one in the home that they need some assistance. So here's an example of one here. And again, very simple piece of equipment. You install it in someone's home, and what will happen is it's linked to a different room. So for example, and I think it's always useful to give some sort of practical examples of how these things can be used. For example, if you as a carer are perhaps struggling with sleepless nights because you've always got one ear open, because you are concerned about the safety and well-being of your loved one, a device like this might be suitable for you, and it's for when the caring the carer is actually living with the cared for person, and it notifies various different activities or events. So everything else, or most things that I'm going to show you from here on in, can connect either to the central control centre or to the carer alert on site. The only exception to that is this device here, the GPS one. GPS is technology that has been around for a long time now, but the industry is only really just catching up in terms of making best use of GPS technology to support people to live independently. So this device here on the left hand side, it's a device that you as the cared for person would hold. It would be on your person, and it has a GPS tracker contained within it. And you can see on the right hand side, whoever has access to that GPS tracker, and it can be configured in whatever way you want, whether that be a central control center, whether it be family, loved ones, etc. Whoever will be able to then identify the location of that individual person. That is on the basis that they continue to have that device on their person, obviously. So it isn't a device that is suitable for every circumstance, because the individual, for a starter, it's more suited to perhaps someone who's got a learning disability, who is really on the journey towards regaining or gaining some independence, and they might be able to go out on their own, and that's what they're aspiring to do, but their loved ones are quite concerned that they might get lost, or and concerns around their safety. So in that sort of circumstance, it's ideal. What we do ask for anyone who has this type of device is that we would want there to be at least 2 people who we could contact should there be an emergency situation, who we could telephone, who would be prepared to deal with any emergency situation 24/7. But you can see that this, in certain situations, not only gives the person a level of independence and safety that they wouldn't otherwise have, but also a great deal of reassurance to their loved ones. So that's that device. Please don't ask me questions about the epilepsy monitor and how it actually works, because I would have to find that out for you. I'm not an expert on it, but it's designed to support people who suffer from epileptic seizures, and it's placed, a sensor is placed under the mattress, and it detects the minute vibrations that are associated with the beginnings of an epileptic seizure, and that makes an alert to either the carer or again the 24-hour control center. So it's about giving advanced warning to someone. Again, you can see if you're caring for a loved one who has epilepsy and you are concerned, particularly at night, that they are going to have a seizure and you're not going to be aware of it, this is a really helpful device to have. Big red button switch. So this really is simply a very big red button. And the idea behind it is that if the individual needs to call for help, they may have issues with dexterity, they may have mobility issues, they may find it very difficult to press a standard sized pendant because they're quite small. Well, this is your really in your face, massive big button that you can use many parts of your body to activate it with. So again, this is, it's horses for courses. So it just gives you an idea of the sorts of devices that are available. Smoke detectors, basic smoke detector. We all know what smoke detectors are and what they do. The difference and the additional benefit of having a smoke detector that's linked to a telecare system is that you can program the smoke detector to send an alert to the monitoring centre or to the on-site carer and loved one in the property. So probably not so useful for people that are living together in the home, but very, very useful for individuals who have care and support needs that are living alone, who may be confused in the event of a smoke detector activating, and they hear a noise, it's confusing, they're not quite sure what to do, they don't have the ability to, for example, phone the emergency services. So having that link in to a monitoring centre is a fantastic way of making sure that someone is safe in their home, and if in the event of an emergency such as a fire, the fire brigade are called at the earliest possible opportunity. The call centre have 30 seconds from when they receive that call to make a decision as to whether it is a genuine fire or not, or whether it's just someone who's burnt their toast. And then another further 30 seconds to have called for the fire brigade. So, and that is an industry standard. So you can be sure from the point that it activates through to a call centre, they will have phoned within 60 seconds the emergency services if that is what is needed. And quite clearly, speed is the essence when we're talking about fire issues. Flood detectors. A really easy device. Stick it on the skirting near your bath in the bathroom, for example, and it will detect if someone has left the taps on and you've got a flooding situation. I guess with this device, you really want to prevent the flood in the first place rather than detect the flood. So it is, it's a little bit too late perhaps after the flood detector activates. We also have things like Magi plugs, whereby when the pressure reaches a certain amount within a bath or a sink, it will automatically release the plug. Personally, I prefer those because they prevent the flood in the first place, but there's no reason why you can't have both. Enuresis sensors. How am I doing for time, by the way? Am I nearly up?
You're doing okay at the moment. You're okay.
Cool. Okay, I'm nearly done. Enuresis sensors. This is a foil mat that is placed underneath the sheet in the bed between the bottom sheet and the mattress, and it triggers if moisture is detected. So it can be really helpful if someone does suffer from episodes of urine incontinence in the night. These can be detected very quickly, and that can be really useful in terms of preventing bed sores and things like that. Door contacts and door exit monitors. We use these as they're really good and useful little tiny simple devices, and all they do is detect when a door is opened, and you've got two contacts. One is attached to the door frame, the other is attached to the door, and when the door is closed, the two meet. When the door is opened, they separate, and that's what will send off an alert. What we can do is we can put a timed device set to these as well. So for example, a real common example of how we use these is for people who live alone. They're very useful for individuals who might have some sort of cognitive impairment, such as dementia, and time them to start activating, for example, 10 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning. And if they open their door at any point during those fixed set hours, it will send an alert through to either the carer on site or the monitoring centre. The monitoring centre will tend to then have a conversation with the individual, and it might be that someone's confused, has got confused between night and day. They can have a chat with the client through the alarm system and offer reassurance, and hopefully sort out whatever the issue is and keep them safe. And obviously, if not, arrange for the appropriate response to make sure that someone goes to check on their well-being. So they're really handy. Another really good practical example for carers who are caring for individuals that might be inclined to you know, move around during the night time, for example. They can alert the carer so you can sleep soundly in your bed, and if your loved one does attempt to open the front door, rather than locking everyone in and creating perhaps an unsafe environment from a fire safety perspective, you can be alerted if that front door is activated. Chair mat, very, very similar to other devices. All it does is simply activates when it's put in the base of a chair, and it can be programmed to activate when someone gets out of the chair. And bed exit monitors, exactly the same thing. Falls and dealing, supporting people and preventing people from having falls in their own home is one of the key sort of benefits of telecare. So we find that people tend to be more prone to falling if they get out of bed in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, for example. And so it's really, really, these monitors are used to monitor people who are getting out of bed between certain predetermined hours. And what we do is we'll set a timer on it. So if someone gets up to go to the loo, we don't necessarily want all the alarm bells to be ringing when all they're doing is getting up to have a wee. But we can set a timer to say, for example, if they don't come back to bed within 30 minutes or whatever that frequency might be, then an alarm would be activated. And the idea behind that is picking up events that would otherwise not be picked up, and events that are of concern and safety issues for the individual. So this is trying to prevent a situation where someone gets up in the night, they have a fall because they're disorientated, they haven't got their lights on, etc., etc. They can't raise the alarm, and they end up being on the floor all night with all of the health complications that come from that. And then I think finally the falls detector, which is generally a wrist-worn device, but you can wear them around your neck as well as a pendant. The idea behind these is that they're very sensitive devices, and they detect a number of different events such as velocity, speed. So if you suddenly throw one of these fall detectors across the room, it will sense that it's travelling at a high speed. It will also, when it hits the floor, it will detect impact, and it also detects, I can't remember what the word is now, but orientation. So if it's in an upright position, then that's fine. If it suddenly goes into a different unrecognised position, that could indicate a fall. And they're very sensitive, they're very sophisticated, and they will look at all of those three types of indicators, and then the device will attempt to identify if someone has had a fall. The idea being, if you have a pendant and you have a fall, you press the button. But if you were to have a sudden fall and then be, for whatever reason, unable to raise the alarm, the idea behind these is that they will automatically raise the alarm on your behalf. And that is the end of my presentation. So I'm going to try and stop sharing now. Yay! Look at me, I managed to do it. So I've whizzed through that very, very quickly, but hopefully that gives you a flavour of what telecare is, how it can be used to support people to live independently and to support their carers and loved ones. And I shall open up for questions now. I see there are 12 things in the chat. Shall I just have a quick look through the chat and see what we've got in there? Would that be the best way? Right. Right. We've got Matt Hell parents. Is there any chance to get all information via email? Maybe basic information, lost signal. Okay. Oh, sorry about that, Matt Hell. By all means, yes, we will do that. Ashley, if there's anything we can share from the session, we'll do via. Oh, okay. So that's the answer. Diane, telecare, no idea. Thanks, Diane. That's helpful. Linda. Oh, Linda's off. She's gone to have her vaccine. Oh, some really positive comments. So that's great. And I've got until 11. Oh, that's fine. I'm doing great for time then. Can you use the door monitors the other way round so it alarms if the door isn't opened by a specified time? No, I don't think so, but there are other devices that we can possibly look at. And we're developing our service offer, and we're looking to introduce in hopefully the next few months some services that are much more proactive rather than reacting to an event. So there are services around at the moment that are called what's it called? I'm just trying to think. There's an I'm okay button, for example. So what you can do is we could program one of the base units to ask the user to press the button every morning or whatever frequency you want, which effectively says I'm okay. And then if they don't press it, it will then activate a trigger through to a monitoring centre that will then think, okay, so Mr. Smith didn't activate his alarm this morning to say he was okay. I'm going to give him a ring and see what's up. So I think that probably would be the best way that we would deal with that type of situation. So I hope that answers it, Ashley. I think we've got the answer for that one. And then Gleason J. Can anyone make a referral for the service to assess the best options for an individual? Excellent question there. So for these more complex devices, the referral needs to come from a professional. So the reason for that is that a short assessment is carried out to assess that someone meets the eligibility criteria under the Care Act. So if you have a social worker or independence advisor currently, then it would be a question of having a chat with them, asking them to make a referral. If you don't have a social worker or independence advisor who is currently supporting you, then you can contact the City Council's Connect service, the Adult Social Care Contact Centre, and have a chat with them, and they will happily make a referral for you. So it is just that stage that we have to have an adult social care practitioner just to carry out that very brief assessment on what your needs are, for them to confirm that you meet eligibility criteria. Please don't be put off by that. This is a service that we're trying to introduce for people, not trying to screen people out of it. So I would be very, very surprised if anyone expressed an interest in telecare and they didn't meet that eligibility criteria, because if you didn't have a need, you really wouldn't be asking for it, I don't think. So I can send some information through to Linda on contact phone numbers, emails, etc., so that you've got all of that you can refer to if you're hopefully interested in having a chat with us about what devices might be suitable for you and your loved ones and how you can be supported. Okay, so nice feedback. Sounds brilliant. New services sound exciting, so that's fantastic. You will see we're doing some work on marketing our commercial offer at the moment, and we'll be starting to release new commercial products towards the end of this year. But those products we're going to be releasing, probably they're going to be the sorts of ones that I've already showed you today, that are already accessible to you, but through the connected care route. I'll put that in an email so that you've got that to refer to, because I appreciate the different routes can be a little bit confusing, and I want to make it as simple as possible for the group, and please feel free to pass that on to friends, acquaintances, family members, etc., because we do really want to introduce telecare to support independence as much as we can across the city for many different reasons, but you know, I think it's a really valuable service. I suppose my last comment on it would be telecare doesn't replace human interaction. Now that might sound obvious, but I, as a telecare advocate, always bear that in mind, and that is always a consideration for me. It will never ever replace those human interactions between people. They are so important, but telecare can be used really effectively to support those human interactions and to support that physical face-to-face care, and give carers reassurance, give them a little bit of respite perhaps, and you know, like I say, if a device means that a carer can sleep a little bit sounder in their bed at night, then it's doing a really valuable job, isn't it? So that's all from me. I'm just looking at the last couple of chat messages that have come through. If you're not eligible, can you purchase independently? So yeah, if you're not eligible currently, you can access the basic package of the button and the box, but at the moment we don't have the ability to sell commercially the full range of products, but that is the piece of work that we're doing, and that will come out very soon. I would say to all of you, don't worry about that. You undoubtedly will all be eligible for the funded model, so don't be concerned about that. Emailed, yeah. William, yeah. So that's it, I think, from me. Unless there are any other questions, happy to have some feedback from you in terms of what your thoughts are in addition to what you've put in the chat. So over to you guys.
Thanks, Lisa. That was a really interesting talk. I really enjoyed that. And if anyone else has any more questions, you know, do pop them in the chat, or if you know, would it be okay if anyone thinks of anything afterwards, if we can send it over to you? Would that be okay?
Of course, yeah.
Brilliant.
And I'll get something over to you in terms of telephone numbers, referral routes, stuff like that.
Oh, amazing.
And no, you haven't got the, and I'll send the PowerPoint presentation over to you as well.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you, Lisa. And as I mentioned at the start, oh sorry, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you for your time and the opportunity that you've given me to share some of my passion.
Oh, bless you. Oh, you're more than welcome. Thank you so much for giving a talk to us. It was, as I say, sent Ash a little text message while you were talking. It was just like, this is a brilliant talk. Thank you so much. Like, really both enjoying it. It's brilliant. And I can see from the comments that everyone's really enjoyed it too. Just before we move on to Jane, I'm aware there are some internet problems besieging Southampton and the surrounding areas at the moment, which our dear Ashley seems to have fallen foul to. So I wonder if some of the other attendees who were due to come along have been caught in the mire of that, unfortunately. But just to reiterate, we are recording this session, and it will be made available. Oh, it's a dog. It will be made available afterwards. I'm not sure what the exact platform will, but we'll send a notification around to everyone to let them know how they can access the video. Jane, are you ready?
Yes.
Yes, brilliant. You've got sharings all on, so if you've got any PowerPoints or anything, then you can just load them up. Yeah, so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, introduce you to Jane Gleeson, who is from Home Group, and is going to be talking about what Home Group offer and who qualifies to support. So, and former, obviously, worked with carers in Southampton as well. So, Jane, over to you.
Yes. Hi, yeah, so I'm Jane Gleeson and I'm a support coordinator with Home Group in Southampton. I haven't got a PowerPoint presentation. It will just be a brief overview of the service that I work for. It's not as exciting as Lisa's presentation, but different and I'm sure of interest to everyone living in the city. So just a little bit of background about Home Group. So Home Group are a national housing association. Their business really is around affordable housing nationally. So that's about affordable rented properties and properties to buy. There are, in fact, some of their properties in the Southampton area. That's not the branch of the organisation that I'm involved with. So I'm a support coordinator for the flexible housing related support service. So that is a contract commissioned by Southampton City Council, which Home Group were awarded 3 to 4 years ago now. And so we provide, as a service, we provide support to vulnerable people living in the community that have a housing related issue. So when I say vulnerable people, that could be somebody with a learning disability, somebody with mental health illness, physical disability, drug and alcohol dependency and accompanying issues. They're the type of vulnerability that we're working with. And the clients that we work with will be people that could be living in council accommodation, private rented. Home Group do have some of their own supported accommodation, so we support individuals living in those properties. Another client group that we do support are people experiencing domestic violence, as well as possibly an aside to some of the other issues as well. Again, we work with individuals that are living in the Southampton boundary. So unfortunately, like all of the other services commissioned by Southampton City Council, we can't support everyone with an SO postcode. It'll be people living within the city boundaries. We support clients between the ages of 18 up to 65, and then people with housing needs beyond that would be supported by other services. Clients can be referred to us by professionals, by social workers, by the Community Independent Service, all of the services operating in the city. If they are to come across a client that has a housing need, they could refer to us. People can self-refer, family members can refer for them. So to clarify what we mean by a housing need, it would be that there are some issue in relation to their maintaining their accommodation. So it could be that they've been threatened with eviction, not if they have actually been evicted, because those people will then be supported by the homelessness team in the city. So it'll be people that may be being threatened with eviction, that are struggling with maintaining their tenancies for whatever reason. And then in association with the actual housing issue, obviously, alongside that comes an awful lot of problems around debt and money management and that kind of thing. So once we start to support an individual, we will be supporting not only with their housing and trying to either improve their housing, resolve their housing issue, we will support them ongoing to maintain their accommodation, their tenancy. We're a short-term service. By short-term, someone can be supported for actually up to 2 years, but in the main, we would start working with somebody who has a specific issue, a specific set of issues, which we will support them to resolve and stabilise, and then refer on to other services that can support in the longer term if need be. As a service, there are about 40 of us working for the service, a mix of support coordinators like myself, and then support workers. So my specific role would be, upon receipt of a referral, it would get allocated to me, added to my caseload. I would say go out, maybe hopefully we're back to times now where we can go out. We've had to do a lot with clients virtually, but in normal times, I would go out, do an assessment with the individual, formulate a care plan, look at every aspect of the care plan, set goals, set steps to achieve the goals. Once I've done that bit, then it would kind of be handed down the structure of the organisation to a support worker to support the client to work through the goals and resolve their situation, stabilise their situation, and then we would close the client. I think in a nutshell, that's kind of what we do. Has anyone got any questions at this point? No. So just, I suppose, a few more points about the sorts of people that we could be supporting. They might be people, as I say, that have a tenancy or have they may have been in homeless accommodation, in hostels, and then they've come out into the community with their own tenancy. They may or may not have had tenancies before. They may have struggled with tenancies before. So they're the type of people that we would be supporting. Some of you will be familiar perhaps with the home bid scheme in Southampton. So this is the scheme whereby if someone is looking for council accommodation or on the housing register, as it's now known, they will have an account set up called a home bid account. And we do a lot of supporting individuals to actually look at what's available in the city on a weekly basis, and then to make their bids for the sort of properties that would be appropriate for them. So that's, I'm just checking through my notes to make sure that I've covered everything about that aspect of what we do. So that's the housing bit. The other bit that we do when we're supporting someone around managing their debt, etc., is also maximising their income. So what we mean by that is identifying any benefits that they would be eligible for and supporting them to actually apply for those benefits. We also do a lot of work around supporting people to appeal against benefit decisions, we will help with that. All of the individuals we work with, we're not able to take referrals specifically for the financial work, the debt work and the benefit work, but we will do it if it comes alongside a housing issue that somebody has. So just to clarify that point as well. So in addition to the work we do face-to-face with clients within our caseload, we have a lot of activities going on in the local community which actually are open to the community. They don't necessarily need to be clients that we're supporting. We've got an allotment over in Millbrook that runs, I think it's going to be every week at the moment. So anyone can go along to that. We've got walking groups across the city. We have a walking group on the Common, one down at Riverside, one down on Western Shore. We've got a couple of knitting groups that people can join. So alongside, there's an art group as well. And then alongside that, if a client isn't necessarily eligible to be referred for the full service to us, we have a virtual drop-in. I'll give you all the information about that in a minute. A virtual drop-in that anybody can call into for any sort of housing and related advice that they might need. And now we're back to hopefully being able to operate out in the community more. We will set back up our drop-ins that we have across the city. So back in the days before COVID, we had drop-ins in about 6 locations in the city. We've just got started again with one at Thornhill Wellbeing Cafe. We have a presence there. So that's one that I do on a Monday morning for anyone that needs to just come along for advice that they can't get, a referral for, I think that's pretty much. Oh, we have a virtual quiz once a week that anyone can join. If you were interested in that, we could give you the links for that. I think that's really a reasonable overview of what we do. I'm just going to check the chat box to see what's come through. Yeah, I think that's pretty much, it was just about the groups, wasn't it? So I don't know if anyone else has got any questions about what we do at Home Group in the housing related support service. Right, well, I think that's all I can tell you really at this stage.
Thank you, Jane. I don't know if you guys can hear me all right, but we'll have a go. Joe might pop up in a second. Fabulous. Joe, are you there?
I'm here, Ash. Are you there?
Oh, fabulous. There we go. I'm glad you can hear me. That's nice to know. Go for it, Joe.
No, I was just going to say thank you, Jane. Thank you for that overview of Home Group. That was brilliant. Does anyone have any questions for Jane while we're here? Oh, I think one's incoming, Jane. I just want to say I've done some work with Home Group as well, Jane. Because I know we were due to meet for a meeting quite recently, but unfortunately, I think you were unavailable for it. But I met with Emma and Luke.
Yes.
And Home Group, like all the other organisations in the city, but doing some really great work. And I know that when we've referred people on to you, they've been helped and supported brilliantly. So you know, it's difficult for me because I know your service quite well, so I'm kind of sort of sitting here thinking,
Yeah.
do I have any kind of questions that I would like to ask you? But no, I've met with Luke and Emma, who obviously
Yeah.
and
She's my team leader.
she is, yes, a lovely meeting with her quite recently. But yeah, Home Group are doing some brilliant work. I don't think there's any questions in the chat.
Say, Joe, the challenge. So I was just going to say that the challenge we have, as is always the case, around getting people to identify as carers, you know, within our service. And this is a piece of work that we're trying to do, Emma and myself. You know, we have got lots of them that are living out there with cared for, but it's that piece of work to actually get them to acknowledge and even see that they have a caring role, you know, for which there are services like yours that we could signpost them to.
Absolutely, and you know, we have the same conversation, you know, weekly at Carers in Southampton. You know, it is always a challenge to help people sort of identify as such, as a carer, as such, you know, and quite often when people come to the service, you know, it's either because they've had that sort of light bulb moment themselves, or the support they've received from another organisation has kind of helped them to acknowledge themselves as a carer. So yeah, I mean, as I say, you know, if we come across anyone, and you know, at Carers in Southampton, if we come across anyone, you know, who needs some support or needs to access another organisation, you know, we're never shy about coming forward and referring on, and you know, building links with organisations like Home Group to make sure that the carers in the city are best supported by community providers, of which there are loads. And I think the problem, I don't know if you'd agree, Jane, but I think there's a lot of great organisations in the city, but sometimes you've got to look, and it's up to us as professionals to help people see what services are out there to help them. Brilliant. Thanks, Jane. Ash, do you have anything to add?
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you. Yep.
Thinking that the group sound fantastic in terms of things going on in the city that you can kind of access from anyone in the community. So that's really exciting. Things like allotments and that. I think lots of people kind of things they'd love to get into and just don't know where to start. So lovely that they're kind of expanded across the community. And fingers crossed you can get back out again to all your meetups and your drop-in sessions, because I know how valuable they are to people. It's just so difficult at the moment, isn't it, to provide that same level of support and interaction. So I know, as like Joe said, works a lot with Home Group, I have as well, and they do a fabulous job of working around all of the problems at the moment and making sure people are still getting all the advice and support they need. So fabulous. I think we'll probably have a little break in a second. So just before we go, just to highlight to anybody who is here or is watching it back later on, we do have one final wellbeing session coming up next Wednesday. So they're the fabulous wellbeing sessions we've been running across the last few months. Really great about looking after your own well-being, your own mental health, helping deal with anxieties, things like that. So really fantastic sessions. Those of the group that have been attending them regularly have really benefited them from them and really enjoyed them. So there's one more coming up next week, so you can sign up to that on the website if you'd like to. And just to reiterate the request from Linda about the enrolment forms. So if you do watch this back and you're watching it on record, if you let us know that you've watched it and we can send you out an enrolment form, that would be really, really helpful for us, because as Linda said, that is what gets us our funding to fund the sessions. So yeah, if you do watch it on record and you can let us know that you've sat and watched some of it or all of it, that would be amazing. And filling in that form would be great. So we've got Nikki coming up from the Environment Centre in a little bit, and she's going to be talking about ways of maximising the efficiency of your energy at home, and then ultimately saving you a little bit of money on your bills and how they can support with that. And so we'll have a sort of 10-minute break or so, and then we'll get Nikki in and set up and ready to go. So if you want to pop away for a cup of tea and come back, those on your record, it will be seamless. For those of you that are here with us today, if you want to pop off for a cuppa and come back about 25 past, half past, that would be perfect. Thank you, Jane, again for coming along and joining us today. I can see you need to run away to the next thing, but lovely to see you, and thank you very much for coming to join us today. Fab, have a cup of tea, guys, and we'll see you again at sort of 25 past, half past would be perfect.
So
Fabulous.
looks like recording is resumed, Ashley. So do you want to introduce us to the last speaker?
Fabulous. Thanks, guys. So sorry for the interruption this morning with my internet. I am back. Ta-da. So lovely to see you all, and hi to anybody who's watching it on record. So our final speaker for today, last but not least, is the lovely Nikki from the Environment Centre. So Nikki valiantly stepped in to come and talk to us at fairly short notice, so thank you, Nikki, to come and have a little chat with us about sort of increasing your energy efficiency and equally kind of saving you a little bit of money along the way as well. So I will hand over to Nikki, as we have been doing. We'll have sort of your presentation, Nikki, and then a couple of questions, if that's okay. If anyone wants to ask a question, feel free to pop them in the chat box and I'll field those over to you at the end, Nikki, for everybody who is watching. So take it away, my dear. You should have ability to share. So
okay, let me try that. Share screen, and I think it might be this one.
beautiful.
Yeah. And let's see if I can go into presentation mode.
Thank you. Yeah, and the presentation mode, or if you go slideshow at the top, it should let you start from the beginning. There we go. Professional. Wonderful. Take away, Nikki, my dear.
Okay, sorry, it's just here. Sorry, not working on my side.
Oh, it looked okay for us.
Oh, did it? Oh gosh. Okay, well, I'll just do that then. Sorry.
Try slideshow on the top bar and it should let you start from the beginning. It might make it happy.
Okay. Slideshow from beginning. There we go. Okay.
Does that look okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Beautiful.
Okay, let me minimize this. Okay, so yeah, my name is Nikki. I am an energy advisor for Southampton Healthy Homes, which is a project run by the Environment Centre. So, perfect. Okay. And yeah, so the Environment Centre is a local charity based in Southampton. It's been around for more than 27 years now. And basically, the goals for the Environment Centre are to reduce carbon emissions, encourage sustainability, improve air quality, and more importantly, provide affordable warmth for people. So yeah, throughout the pandemic, we've continued to offer our service remotely. So instead of home visiting or office appointments, we're now communicating via our free phone advice line, emails, WhatsApp, text messages, and even the occasional video call. So yeah, all the advice that we offer is free and impartial. We help local homeowners, tenants, even landlords with all sorts of energy efficiency advice. And yeah, we do have that focus on energy in the Southampton Healthy Homes project, but obviously with our other goals around tech, we've got you know, the other sustainability and carbon and air quality issues that we kind of go across projects, if you like. So the reason that we're focusing on energy, particularly in Southampton, is, you know, first and foremost, living in a cold home does affect people's health. So it can exacerbate conditions like COPD, asthma, even mental illness. And in Southampton, generally they have a relatively poor housing stock, and there's a huge number of rental properties, and the people living in Southampton have relatively low income. So all of this kind of creates an environment that leads to cold homes, which is what we're trying to avoid. So where does all this energy go that we're using on our homes? So from the graph, the orange portion, I don't know if you can see quite clearly, but that is the portion, about 2/3 of the energy goes into heating our homes. The blue section is for hot water. So if you add the water and the heating together, that accounts for about 80% of the energy we use. All the rest, which is appliances, cooking, lighting, that's the 20%. So really, if we can address the heating and hot water side of things, that's where the bulk of your energy conservation is going to happen, and reduce your bills that way. So I've broken down the what can you do sections into 3 sort of parts. So if you have a look first and foremost at your own energy behaviors, that is going to be you know, an easy, hopefully easy way to start reducing your energy and reducing your costs. So again, because most of the energy is used in heating, you want to be able to use your heating and hot water controls effectively. And, you know, there are all sorts of different controls depending on the heating system that you have. High heat retention storage heaters, for example, have all sorts of different complicated programming settings. So if you're ever unsure about how best to use them, we can kind of talk you through those. But basically, you don't want to overheat your homes in the winter, because for every degree of heat that you put into your home, it is increasing the cost, you know, quite significantly. And most people, most healthy people, I should say, kind of feel that 18 to 21 degrees Celsius is comfortable for them, but obviously that's quite subjective. So, you know, people with certain health conditions might find that, you know, 24 degrees is actually more comfortable for them. The other thing that will kind of help reduce your energy and costs is getting your boiler, for example, if you have one, serviced annually. And I know that's kind of a bit counterintuitive because you're paying for the service, but it means that your boiler will continue to operate and be in tip-top shape, if you like. So kind of as a side note, people who are registered on the priority services, a lot of them are eligible for free gas safety checks. So that's not actually a service, but it does make sure that your boiler is safe to use. So that's something to kind of keep in mind as well. And as far as bleeding or flushing your radiators, you know, you really should be bleeding them once a year, and that kind of allows the trapped air to be released. So if you notice, you know, if your heating's on and you kind of feel the radiator and it feels a bit colder up top than it does on the bottom, that's a really good sign that, you know, you're likely to have air in it trapped in the top. So all you have to do, get your handy dandy tool and bleed them. Flushing radiators is kind of more of a job for the professionals, I think. But if instead of having a cold radiator up top, you're noticing it's colder on the bottom, that's an indication that you're you know, on the inside, there's sludge building up. And so that needs to be flushed through either with a bit more pressure or with a combination of chemicals and filters and things like that. So one of the things that people don't really necessarily think about as far as, you know, heating is condensation and damp. So one thing that kind of strikes a lot of people is that moist air requires more energy to heat up. So, you know, you might notice that you're, you know, putting a lot of heat into a space, but you're not noticing a significant change in temperature. And that could be because you're actually heating up the water content of your home as opposed to the air. So by preventing condensation, you know, you could notice a difference in the way that, you know, the comfort of your home in a lot of different ways, actually. And to mitigate condensation, you generally follow what's known as the hive principles. So that's heating, insulation, ventilation, and excess moisture. So having your home heated adequately, having insulation throughout your home, making sure that, you know, you're opening windows when you need to, or using exhaust fans, things like that, to get appropriate ventilation, and reducing the excess moisture. So, you know, adding pot lids when you're cooking and things like that. There are other kinds of damp as well, but they're much less common in households. So the other causes of damp would be rising damp. So that's primarily if you've got a faulty damp proof core. So you notice kind of like a tide line, if you like, in your home. There is penetrating moisture. So that could be things like there's a hole in your roof and it's leaking inside. And then obviously plumbing issues as well. So you want to get those taken care of ASAP if you can. Another thing that people don't really associate so much with energy is, you know, all the water content that you're using. So that again was, I think about, I think it was 17% on the chart in the last slide, you know, used towards heating your water. And that, you know, for showers is either an electric shower, a hot water immersion cylinder, or, you know, a combi boiler, whatever form it takes, it is using energy. So if you can, and I appreciate that not everyone is able to, but if you can take shorter showers, that does also bring down your energy usage and cost. I know Southern Water at the moment, they've just restarted their water saving home visits. So, you know, you can book a slot and basically someone will come in and retrofit your home. So adding all of the necessary devices and gadgets to try to minimize your water use, which will also help with your energy as well. And yeah, so something to keep in mind. And if, you know, you're already all kitted out, you know, you could, you know, for example, think about your favorite 4-minute song, and so try to listen to that when you're in the shower to kind of get the auditory cues going. And there are loads more tips that I can give you as well. I mean, here on the slide, we've got washing full loads of laundry in cold water, switching devices off standby. I mean, the list goes on and on, but I probably don't have time to go through them all today. And, you know, if you're at all interested in having more tailored advice to your specific circumstances, because, you know, everyone's got different types of heating, different, you know, circumstances at home, you know, just ask us and we can kind of give you the best advice we can about those. So then if we kind of change tacks and think about the cost of energy for a second, I mean, the biggest way that you can save money on your energy bills or payments is usually by you know, shopping around. So if you haven't shopped around for a better energy deal in a while, now is the time, because there are significant savings that you could be making. So your supplier is legally obliged to tell you what their cheapest tariff is, but they're not going to tell you what their competitor's cheapest tariff is. So yeah, I mean, that is what price comparison sites are for. And you'd want to use an accredited price comparison site. So that's one that Ofgem, which is the regulatory body, says, yep, these guys are comparing the whole of market. So, you know, if you jump on one of those sites, you'll be able to see, you know, all the options available to you. And yeah, you can also filter by things that are important to you. So, for example, if someone is in receipt of guaranteed pension credit in your home, you probably want to filter for suppliers who offer the £140 warm home discount. It's not just a discount for people who are of pensionable age, though. If you are on a low income and have a health or age vulnerability, then you might be eligible for it. But it does, all of the criteria that these energy suppliers set are different between different suppliers. So it does get quite confusing, but that is also something that we can help you with, try to figure out, which supplier is probably the best one for you. Changing the way you pay is also, if you don't want to switch supplier, but you're happy to receive online bills as opposed to letters through the post, or if you can set up a direct debit payment instead of paying cash monthly, then those often have savings associated with them. Not always, but it's worth checking. And obviously smart meters, they're also great for trying to figure out exactly where your energy is going, but they in and of themselves won't save you any money or energy. You have to kind of use them to your advantage, if you like. One note about switching as well, and switching is supposed to be easy, and for a lot of people it is, but there are circumstances where you might be blocked from switching. So that could be if you have any debt on your accounts, or if you have what are known as first generation smart meters. Again, they won't block switches in all cases, and if you're at all concerned about whether you would be blocked, then come and get advice from us. We can kind of lead you down the right path. The other thing to pay attention to is the terms and conditions of a lot of the tariffs, because they might say that you need to have an electric vehicle to switch to that tariff, or you need to bundle your energy with broadband, for example. So these are all kind of things that we've picked up along the way. And yeah, if you want us to kind of have a look over your price comparison, we're more than happy to do that. So my favorite topic, insulate. If you haven't already insulated your home, that is one of the biggest ways that you can save on energy and save money. In uninsulated homes, they say that 35% of heat loss occurs through the walls, 25% through the roof, and 15% through drafts. All the rest goes through the floor, windows, things like that. So yeah, really important to insulate, but obviously deciding on what measures to install, it can be difficult. One kind of simple, quick way to figure out whether your home needs insulation is to look at your home's energy performance certificate if you have one. And those are usually available online, and all you need is your address to find it. That'll give you kind of a quick overview, which is, I'd say in most cases, right. Then deciding, okay, so the EPC, the certificate says you need, say, loft insulation. Okay, well, is that appropriate for your home? I'd say with loft insulation, usually it is, but it will necessarily depend on what other measures you have installed in your home, what your budget is, the nature of the property itself. So say the EPC says you need cavity wall insulation, but you live in an area where there is just heavy, side driving rain right next to the sea or something like that. might not be appropriate for you, or if you have very, very thin, cavities, they're called hard to treat. The other thing to keep in mind is that some of the measures that are recommended will necessarily involve disruption, chaos, things like that. So it'll depend on your tolerance to getting these measures installed. But the good news is that for a lot of people, there are grants available. So if anyone in the household receives any sort of benefits, there is likely to be help available. If you don't receive any benefits, but you are on a low income, your household has a low income, then there's still almost definitely grants out there for you. These grant schemes change quite regularly, so I don't have time to go through all the different schemes available at the minute, and probably wouldn't help anyway, because new ones are going to come on board next week or the week after or whatever. But yeah, if you fall into any of those camps and you just want to find out if any of the home energy efficiency improvements that you're planning could get funding, please just ask us. For draft proofing and things like LED light bulbs, they're very affordable, I'd say, and you can get them basically any store. Again, 15% of a home's energy is lost through drafts. So if you can block those up, it's usually a DIY job. I would encourage you to do that. We do have a lot of these small measures in our office. So when we do start home visiting again, and I'm not entirely sure when that will be, but we can kind of give that out to people who need them. Right, so I've basically gone through all of this in my presentation already, but basically the message is, if you've got any sort of energy troubles, worries, concerns, just want a bit of advice on energy related matters, give us a call, send us an email, get in touch. But I'll run through the list anyway. And again, this is just a small snapshot of the things that we can help with. A lot of jargon in energy statements and bills, so it can be quite confusing for a lot of people. If you need your bill explained, you've got questions about, oh, I've only had, I was paying £50 last month and all of a sudden it jumped up to 100. What's going on? Those are the kinds of questions that we can look at. We can help you with price comparisons, as I've said before. Make sure that you're not overpaying for your energy. Again, identify high energy, say, appliances that you're using, or other kind of causes of your high energy costs. It might be that, for example, all of a sudden they've taken a meter reading and had been underbilling you the whole time. So all of a sudden your bills jump up again. Something that we would investigate. Energy suppliers are notoriously difficult to get in touch with, and even more so over the pandemic. And I'd say a lot of their internal departments have trouble communicating amongst themselves. So it does occasionally lead to disputes. And if you do have a dispute with your supplier that you'd like help to resolve, that's what we're here for as well. Occasionally it does go to the energy ombudsman, but we take it on a case-by-case basis. I've already mentioned the £140 warm home discount, but there are also other discounts and caps and grants available, particularly through Southern Water. They've just opened up a whole bunch of new offers. So yeah, if you're at all interested, if you're to see whether you're eligible for any of this, we can kind of guide you through that. We can also tell you about the funding for home energy upgrades, such as insulation, heating, that type of stuff. One thing I haven't mentioned so far in my presentation is that if you're a homeowner and your heating breaks and you can't afford some temporary electric heaters whilst you wait to get your boiler fixed or replaced, we can potentially provide temporary heaters out to you to just make sure that you're staying warm. Not as important at the moment because the weather is hopefully warming up a little bit, but in the winter, it's certainly a concern of ours. So we want people to stay warm in their homes. And this is the way that you can get in touch with us. We have a free phone advice line, so that 0800 number should be free for you to call. You'll get straight on the phone to an energy expert, so they can kind of guide you through the various different concerns that you have. We've got a dedicated email address as well, that Keep Warm email address. Feel free to use that. And also, if you want to go online, we have a page specifically about the Southampton Healthy Homes Project and an online referral form that you can fill out. Carers in Southampton have just joined us as an Advice in Southampton partner as well. So, yep, welcome. And yeah, you can now refer people to us using ReferNet. So we would highly encourage that. If you,
yeah, we were super excited when we saw that yesterday. We were going through it like, oh, we can refer to the Environment Centre as well. So yeah, it's nice. Absolutely. We're looking forward to being able to use that a little bit.
Yeah, no, we're excited about that as well. So
wow.
Yeah, but yeah, that's basically the end. And if you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to run through those.
Brilliant. So I've got a question popped up in the chat, Nikki, just to say, had a smart meter installed on Monday. How accurate are they? So did they give you a good indication of the level of energy you're using day to day?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They are accurate. So I think the readings for electricity are instantaneous and the readings for gas are delayed by a very, very short amount of time. But yeah, I mean, I do from experience know that, you know, when you do get a traditional meter replaced with a smart meter, everything should be good. But there have been instances where smart meters are faulty. So if you know, all of a sudden start realizing that, hey, I'm paying a lot more than I was before, but my behaviors haven't changed, and you know, the measures in my home haven't changed, that is something that would need investigating. Again, very rare, but have cropped up in the last couple of years when, you know, people have been installing these. So just
good to know, because it can be so easy to sort of align it to, well, the smart meter obviously knows I'm using more than I thought I was. So yeah, good to know that it's worth having a look at. I know we had one a while ago and it was fun, like, you know, putting the kettle on and then watching it to see how much it went up by, and like turning the telly on and seeing what it did. Yeah, a lot of fun doing that. Fabulous.
Can I just, sorry, Ash, can I just say that was my question? Because yeah, it does happen. And just you took the words out of my mouth. It was quite illuminating, excuse the pun, seeing how much it goes up by just putting the kettle on. You know, turn the kettle on, and something that told me I was using, you know, 67p's worth of energy an hour for having the kettle on. So it does make you realise, you know, how simple things can rack up the costs. I got mine for free through my supplier. But I was with one of the big six before, and I moved to a smaller supplier. Because as you said, you know, there was a lot of jargon in my bills. And I found them very difficult to follow. I think it's really quite criminal how confusing they make gas and electric bills for people to follow. It's really difficult, but I moved to a different supplier. But can everyone just contact their gas and electric supplier to get a smart meter installed? I got mine for free when I was with this particular supplier. They came into my home and told me I couldn't do it because our whole home's about 110 years old and difficult to set up. But the guy who came on Monday, it took him a while, but he got it all done quite happily. So should all homes My question is, can all homes get a smart meter, and should their suppliers be giving it to them for free?
So theoretically, yes, all homes should be able to get it. There are instances where it might not be appropriate. I'm not entirely sure with the current generation smart meters, but I know with the first generation smart meters that came on the market maybe a couple of years ago, they were having trouble communicating through thick concrete walls, for example. So if you live in a concrete tower block, don't know if that's necessarily going to work, but I'm not the expert on that. That is something that a meter engineer would be able to tell you. I think, you know, a lot of people are kind of a bit wary if they're private tenants, for example, and, you know, can I get a smart meter installed, or, you know, is that something that the landlord would have to do? Technically, you can do that. We'd recommend that you ask your landlord for it first, but there might be stipulations in the rental agreement saying that, you know, if the landlord's covering all of the energy costs, maybe you can't. So just have a look at that. As far as cost, if you're replacing a traditional meter with a smart meter, it does need to be offered for free. That is a legal obligation. All homes should have been offered smart meters by this point already, but the pandemic delayed a lot of things, including this. So they're still working towards, you know, offering every household a smart meter. I think they might have until 2025, I think. Don't quote me on that, to get those installed. But if you want a smart meter, you can obviously contact your supplier and ask them for one.
Thank you. I would recommend doing it. Yeah, if you're a pet, if you want to watch the pennies like I did, then yeah, it's really quite fascinating seeing how much different things cost and charge. Especially, yeah, cup of tea.
Diane's added in, is it safe to have a smart meter with solar panels? So is that a possibility?
Yes. So again, there were issues that arose with the first generation smart meters, not necessarily safety issues, but you know, for example, some smart meters were actually charging you for the energy that you were generating as opposed to, you know, deducting it. So the smart meter was just getting a bit confused. I think that problem has been resolved with the latest generation smart meters, and, you know, suppliers are now only installing these latest generation ones. So I would say that it's probably not an issue, but if you are concerned, again, speak to a meter engineer at the company, and they'll be able to advise you on that.
Brilliant, thank you. I was really interested in all the things you do, actually. It surprised me, the amount of things on offer, to be fair. So just a quick question. You mentioned in the last slide there that you can help with kind of shopping around for energy prices. So maybe people that aren't particularly keen on doing it themselves online, maybe not as tech savvy to work around those comparison sites, can get a bit of help to do that, which I think is really fab, because it's not something I really want to do, I don't think. I'd quite like someone to help me with it. So yeah, I think that's fabulous. With things like sorting out boiler servicing and you were saying about flushing radiators, things like that, can you help kind of find providers for that, or the best people to help them with? Or you kind of, we sometimes get a bit locked that we obviously can't recommend companies necessarily. We can just signpost people in the right direction. But are you able to kind of highlight where might be good, best prices, that kind of thing?
Yeah, not necessarily best prices, but generally for things like that, we would go on the Buy with Confidence website and look for contractors who've been approved by trading standards, essentially. So again, get a couple of quotes just to compare prices. I mean, for an annual service, I know it's gone up recently, but I'd expect to pay, I don't know, anywhere between 80 and 120 pounds per year for that. So yeah, again, just shop around, but I would definitely look up the Buy with Confidence website and find either gas engineers or heating engineers that are gas safe registered.
Yeah, and that's brilliant because obviously some people can't access those things online, so that's really great that you'll be able to kind of steer them through it as well. Wonderful. I can't see else popping up in the chat box.
I've got one more question.
So that just leads me to say, do you say you had a question, Joe?
Yes.
Go on then.
Thank you. I know I was really interested in this because I was very, as I say, I think I mentioned, very keen to make our house energy efficient. Roofing, we've got a plastic roof on, we've got a conservatory at the back of our house, which gets very hot in the summer and very cold in the winter. And for a long time, I've been trying to convince my other half to invest in a new roof. Is it safe to say I'm losing a lot of heat through that? You know, being quite hot. And also, you know, are there grants or things available that perhaps I could look at to get those things sorted? Or is there any advice I could do in the meantime to sort of stop losing that heat through the roof?
Oh gosh, that's
I appreciate it's a bit of a naughty question.
yeah, no, I mean it's tough, and a lot of people have conservatories, and so it's not a standalone issue, is it? But gosh.
You are welcome to refer him to the phone line if you wish to, Nikki.
Yeah, I'm having to refer myself. I'm on ReferNet now, so
yeah,
I thought I'd just take
yourself,
advantage
Joe.
because you were here, to be honest, Nikki.
Yeah, no, with conservatories, I mean, it depends whether you use them or try to use them all year round, and whether you have a way of like shutting them off from the rest of the house, because really they are an energy drain, both in the summer and the winter. I mean, summer not so much in this country, but certainly where there's air conditioning in people's houses, can rack up the energy bills. I know there are, certain types of glazing films that can help prevent, solar gain from the sun. They are, I'd say, more expensive, and I don't know if it's a good idea to use them in conservatories because the rest of the space is glass as well. I think it'd probably be more expert advice beyond what I can tell you on this today. But if you do want a bit more information, you can try our advice line.
We'll try your advice line. Yes, that will be very good. I mean, it's quite useful in summer because it means that we offset the energy of the tumble dryer by just cooking all our clothes in the conservatory instead to dry them off. So it does have some advantages. No, brilliant. Thank you. No,
fabulous. Well, thank you very much, Nikki. That was really interesting, and actually I think we'll be sending a lot of people through to you because there's so much that you guys do. There's going to be a lot of people, I think, thinking, yep, I could definitely do with some advice on that, and that kind of individual look, as you say, at their particular situation and bills and things to see how they can help. So that's really interesting. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you get back to your busy day elsewhere. But thank you, that was really helpful. And are we all right to share the slides across as well?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
brilliant. All right, then we'll pop those in the emails as well that we said we'll send out after today with the slides in, and obviously it's being recorded, so we'll send out the record as well. So thank you, Nikki, that was fantastic. So that brings us to the end of today, guys. Thank you so much for coming to join us. So just before we go, just a few reminders. You'll get your enrolment forms. If you can send them back to us, we would really appreciate it. And as I said earlier, if you've been joining us on the record and you're watching this back later on, if you can let us know that you've joined us and that you enjoyed the session today, then we can get you a form out as well, and that would really help us because that's how we get funding for running these sessions. So we would really appreciate it if you let us know that you've enjoyed it and you've watched it today, however much you've joined in for. Don't forget, it's Carers Week coming up in a couple of weeks, so we'll be having lots of things going on for that, so keep an eye on your inboxes and the emails coming through from us about the things that are happening in Carers Week. And if you're interested in that wellbeing session next week, then that is on our website as well, and you're welcome to sign up for that too. And that really brings us to the end of today. Thank you, Joe, for being my hero and stepping in and getting everybody started this morning. Apologies for my internet connection. I am now back up and running, so that's good. But hope you all have a lovely rest of your Wednesday. Any questions that you've thought of after the session for any of the speakers, let us know. Again, if you're watching it back later on and you've got any questions, we can always send those through to the speakers and ask those on your behalf. So please let us know if you have any questions. And we will see you for the next information session, which I believe will be in Carers Week. So we'll let you know all about that in due course. Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all soon. Bye, Kate. Take care. Thank you, Nikki.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks all. Cheers. Thanks, Nikki. Bye.